The real turning point in the Irish referendum to repeal the Eighth Amendment, which protects the right of the unborn child, was in 2012 in a hospital in Galway. Savita Halappanavar, 31, was 17 weeks pregnant. She was miscarrying, was denied an abortion and died of sepsis. This is a Catholic country, she was told, and that was that. If doctors had known she was dying they could, legally, have saved her. But it was not enough on that day and in that hospital. Incompetence and misogyny killed Savita Halappanavar, and she died amazed at her fate in the 21st century. The story rolled around the world. The Catholic Church and its dogma has persecuted Irish women since the founding of the state. Unmarried mothers were locked up in mother and baby homes and their children were adopted, stolen or killed by neglect. That is the latest scandal to become the subject of an inquiry in Ireland. Vulnerable women were enslaved within the notorious Magdalen laundries. Children were raped by priests. And then there was abortion, denied to all but those who could afford to travel to England in secret, unless they risked their lives on the back streets. If women did leave Ireland for abortion, they would be taunted by posters of murdered babies as they approached Dublin Airport. For the journey, if you will, it would be a bitter, friendless one. If women did illegally purchase abortion pills for use at home, they might be discovered and arrested. In 2014, a 19-year-old Northern Irish woman was reported by her flatmates for inducing an abortion with pills. The Northern Irish laws are similarly illiberal. She received a suspended prison sentence. The flatmates did not think that she was contrite enough. Even so, they later said, whenever the police came it turned into something massive. We didn't actually think it would have gone so far. What did they think would happen? A fairy godmother would appear instead of a police officer and all would be well? Ireland has, seemingly, liberalized. 3 years ago it welcomed same-sex marriage in a referendum that passed by 62.1% to 37.9%. Abortion wars are fought all over the world, wherever men seek to oppress women, and women themselves. Legislation is made and repealed, abortion clinics open and close. Women are forced to look at photographs of the baby within them and wait. Texas-founded 40 Days for Life vigil appears outside clinics in England, praying for strangers in an ecstasy of passive aggression. Their vigil is, they insist, peaceful. Why do they need to emphasize that, unless they are suppressing the urge to harm women? And peaceful for whom? The cretinous campaign group Abort 67. Meanwhile, its name is for the liberalizing of Britain's abortion laws in 1967. Protests outside clinics with placards of dismembered children, as if they think pro-choice women are so stupid they do not know what abortion is, or what it means, and must be educated in the mysteries of their own bodies. This is not protecting children or anything like it, for who speaks of the pressure an unwanted child places on a poor family, or a sick woman, or both, in this fantasy world? This is taunting women with their own nature and pain. A snowflake crowd at the Day for Freedom protest in Paraguay in 2015. A raped 11-year-old had a baby. In 2018, also in Paraguay, a 14-year-old died during childbirth. In 1984, in Ireland, a 15-year-old girl called Anne Lovett gave birth in a grotto dedicated to the Virgin Mary on a cold January day. She was found dying, with her dead son beside her. It was only months after the original referendum to enshrine the right to life of the unborn was passed. The Eighth Amendment survived. Anne Lovett did not. But Ireland has, seemingly, liberalized. It has changed. 3 years ago it welcomed same-sex marriage in a referendum that passed by 62.1% to 37.9%. People flooded home from the Irish diaspora to vote, joyfully and with pride, to right a wrong at last. Only one of the 43 constituencies, Roscommon South Leitrim, voted no to gay marriage. People attend a vigil at St Stephen's Green in Dublin to mark 1 year since the death of Savita Halappanavar. PA photos. This campaign has been curiously muted, as if conservatives fear they have already lost, and this particular kind of misogyny is ebbing to an end in Ireland. All the forces in the world are not so powerful as an idea whose time has come, as Victor Hugo said. And I hope that this is true, or perhaps they think that aggressive campaigning will remind floating voters of the Church's cruelty in the past and turn them toward repeal. The campaign for repeal is optimistic, but I am not so sure. I think of Brexit and Hillary Clinton, and I do not know whether the talkative progressives will overcome the silent conservatives, whether Twitter itself is a state of denial. The polls are narrowing, The latest has 45% for repeal to 34% against, with 18% undecided. Who will the undecided think of at the pass? A fantasy of a baby, happy and wanted, or a woman desiring, no, requiring agency over her own body? Will they remember that childbirth is life-threatening? Most people seem sure, but I am not, because I have been to the former mother and baby homes. I have been to the burial pit at Durham, where more than 800 children lie in unmarked graves near a playground. I have been to Bessborough where, in 1943, the fetal death rate was 68%. I have been to Castle Pollard where a young girl, giving birth in an outhouse alone, went blind. In the burial site at Castle Pollard each child was marked with a nail in the wall. There was never a grave. I have seen the depth of the cruelty, and the extent of the denial. As I say, the repeal campaign is hopeful. They tell me, the most important thing is having the difficult conversation with family and friends that are still undecided. It's important that people don't get complacent and assume just because all their friends are voting for repeal that everyone else will too. Social media is harnessed and denied. 8app, Repeal the Eighth Amendment is an app allowing pro-choice supporters to share stories. Facebook has prevented groups outside Ireland campaigning on its site for fear of pro-life American intervention, and this is welcome. Ireland waits to choose. Like this. Now read, How Having a Son Changed My Life. A snowflake crowd at the Day for Freedom protest. Jeremy Corbyn's stance on anti-Semitism is not enough.